Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Before we start, may I request the speakers to kindly test their audio?
Yeah, I can hear you, Fanny. Can you hear me, please?
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Fanai. Do you hear me well?
Oh, yes, Rustam, I could hear
Thank
you.
you.
Hi, this is Stefan. How are you?
Stefan, I'm good. Thanks. Yes, nice to hear
Have a
you.
good event.
Thank you.
Hi,
This
Dan
is
here. It's Dan
Michael.
Millison.
Dan, I could hear you loud and clear. Yeah, hi.
Great, thank you.
You?
Good.
Hi, Michael.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Do we have Subir or you are on mute? Is it Subir?
Good morning, Mr. Fanai. This is Subir Das from
Good morning.
Ecgc. Hi, how are you?
Good. Yeah, great.
I am
Nice
audible.
meeting you.
I am
Yes.
audible.
You're audible, Mr. Das.
I guess my session is at Indian time 12:35, isn't it?
Yes.
That day I could attend only for a few minutes because I had got some other occupation. So
Yeah, I noticed we had some few technical troubleshooting at that time.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
will you share the presentation or I'll have to drive it from here?
There are two options. Just before your session, I can give you a presenter's right. Then you can share because the button share will not be active that time. Once we give you the right, the share will be active and you can share from there. Alternatively, me or Kunal from my team will share the presentation. I will be around to assist you. I can even share also. We have both options.
Okay, I prefer that you do it on
Oh,
my behalf. That will be so kind of you.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I also wanted to add that the whoever speaks will be on the top right. We have a panel of speakers and panel members who are supporting staff. So whoever is on the panel, if you don't speak, kindly keep your mic on mute. Now, can I request ED's office to kindly test their voice?
Yeah, Fanai.
Sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, sir. Nice meeting you, sir.
Yeah. So am I audible?
You are audible, very much audible, sir.
Yes, and video is also, I think, okay. Video is also
Video is
coming.
also okay. Yes, video is
Chalo,
also coming.
perfectly. So what time I have to finally join? At 11?
Yes, at 11 sharp we will
Okay.
start. And
Okay.
after that, after madam speaks, then your turn comes. What time is your flight now, sir?
My flight immediately after this thing, half an hour, then we'll leave the hotel.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Fanai, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You're audible, sir. Yeah.
So I'll be on mute, Fanai.
All right.
Okay, so I'll be initially be there. I have another CI thing to join. Then I have to make an SCPC presentation. I'll what time is my presentation? 12:25, right?
Yes. Yes.
12:25, right?
Let me just come back to you. Yes, 12:25 India time.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. Not an issue. You will come back for a Q&A session after that. Yeah.
Like Divya would have sent a copy to me. Yeah, Fanai?
Yeah. So you will come back after Q&A, for the Q&A after that.
No, after I come, I'll be there throughout. Once I
okay.
come for my presentation, I'll be there throughout.
Excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
It's what time it's going to start?
Good morning, Siva.
It will start at
Morning,
11.
Uday.
Yeah.
Oh, in a few minutes.
In a few minutes.
Yeah, 11 o'clock.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, 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 okay.
So we expect more people to join. In fact, they're interested in the business opportunities side, many of them. Even if they do not come here, they will join later on. We have around 263 registration as of now in the morning, around 10 a.m. India time. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Good morning, Vinay.
Ma'am, can you switch on your
Morning,
video?
MD. Morning, MD Sivakumar.
Yeah, good morning, Shiva.
MD.
Good morning, ma'am. This is Uday here.
Morning, Uday.
Okay, what we could do before we start the session, getting the feedback from our speakers that some of them might leave in between. Can we switch on our video so that we can have a quick photo session for the record of Exim Bank and the Adb? Can I request everyone to switch on their video? Just hold. Just hold. I request Kunal also to take the photo.
Mr. Sivakumar's camera is off. We'll just wait for, yeah, it's back now.
Is Subir Das is there? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Subir Das, yeah.
Yeah, good morning to all. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
One more and we are good to go.
Morning, Mr. Subir.
I am there.
All right. I think we can start the session now. We have around 260 registered participants, and some more would join at the later part of the session, just for the information of the members.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks.
yeah. So good morning and good afternoon, everyone. We welcome all the participants from India and other Asia Pacific countries. We also took note of the fact that many people are even outside Asia also have registered and participate in this virtual business opportunities seminar. So we welcome you in this seminar, which is jointly organized by the Adb and the Exim Bank of India. My name is Vanaro Dafanai. I am the resident representative of India Exim Bank Singapore office. I will be your host at today's seminar. So to start with the session, let me now introduce Ms. Harsha Bangari, the Managing Director of India Exim Bank. A seasoned finance and management professional, Ms. Bangari served the bank for more than 26 years at various capacities, including as a Deputy Managing Director and the Chief Financial Officer. Let me now invite Ms. Harsha Bangari, Managing Director of India Exim Bank, for the opening remarks.
Yeah.
Ma'am, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Fanay. Mr. Samir Kumar Khare, Executive Director, Asian Development Bank. Mr. Rustam Abdukaimov, Director, Procurement Division 2, Procurement Portfolio and Financial Management Department, PPFD, ADB. Mr. Dan Millison, Consultant, Sustainable Development and Climate Change Department, ADB. Mr. Michael Anyala, Senior Road Asset Management Specialist, Sustainable Development and Climate Change Department, ADB. Ms. C. Janina Rohr, Principal Procurement Specialist and Regional Head South Asia, Procurement Division 1, PPFD, ADB. Mr. Subir Das, General Manager, Ecgc. Distinguished participants, colleagues from India Exim Bank, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed a pleasure to partner with the Asian Development Bank once again for organizing this virtual business opportunity seminar. The presence of such esteemed speakers from the ADB reflects the importance accorded by ADB to encourage Indian participation in ADB-funded projects and programs. We are indeed happy to have such eminent professionals who are here today to share their wide experience and expertise and guide Indian project exporters in bidding successfully for greater number of contracts in the projects funded by ADB. I'm also heartened by the large number of participants in today's virtual session, which clearly reflects the interest and enthusiasm of Indian companies in participating and taking benefit of these opportunities which the ADB funded projects provide. Today's virtual seminar comes at a time when global economic prospects remain highly uncertain. Traditional funding channels for infrastructure have become increasingly constrained due to rising fiscal pressures, high public debt, and an elevated risk aversion by the private sector. According to an analysis undertaken by the GI Hub in collaboration with Oxford Economics, the estimated global infrastructure investment gap amounts to nearly $15 trillion over the period 2016 to 2040. Of this, the estimated infrastructure investment gap in Asia alone amounts to $4.6 trillion. This number can be expected to further grow in the near to medium term, owing to the rising pressure on the fiscal position of governments across the globe due to the pandemic. Against this backdrop, multilateral development banks such as ADB plays a very critical role in providing counter-cyclical financing to assist developing economies in meeting their developmental goals. While development finance from multilateral development banks help create an enabling environment for growth in developing countries, it also presents tremendous business opportunities for the companies, both in their home country as well as overseas. In fact, in 2020, contracts awarded for projects funded by multilateral development banks such as the World Bank, ADB, AFDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, and European Bank for Reconstruction and Development collectively amounted to nearly US $38.5 billion, presenting significant opportunities for companies globally. As regards India's project exports performance, we started with modest beginning in the late 70s. However, since then, we have evolved exhibiting expertise in a wide range of activities. The nature of project exports being undertaken by Indian companies reflects the technological maturity and industrial capabilities in the country, as also growing sophistication of Indian exports. The growing prowess of Indian companies in project exports has helped India position among the top supplier countries in projects funded by major MDPs. The overall value of contracts secured by Indian companies in the ADB, AFDB, World Bank, and the EBRD funded projects amounted to around 5.7 billion during 2020, with majority of the contracts secured through international competitive bidding. Apart from these projects funded through multilateral agencies, Indian project exporters also participate regularly in projects funded by governments, private investors, and development financing institutions of other countries. Indian companies also benefit from the Development Partnership Program of the Government of India, and under the IDEA's guidelines, the bank provides concessional financing to partner countries for large-scale and often complex projects through the Lines of Credit Program, which is routed through Exim Bank. This has also acted as an effective market entry tool for Indian project exporters. Coming to India's Exim India's support to the project exports, Exim Bank has been at the forefront of supporting participation of Indian companies in overseas projects, and Exim Bank's flagship programs have helped Indian companies in making significant headway in the key sectors and markets. As mentioned earlier, Exim Bank extends lines of credit at the behest of Government of India, and these lines of credit enable buyers in developing countries to import developmental and infrastructure projects, equipment, goods and services from India on deferred credit terms. During the last 2-3 years period, in fact, under our lines of credit program, we have supported 148 contracts valued at over $2.5 billion under this program. We also run other similar programs like our buyer's credit under the National Export Insurance Account, as well as our commercial program. All these programs are aimed at removing the constraint which is being faced in terms of financing a project, and helps Indian companies secure projects overseas. With a view to support Indian companies in their endeavor to globalize their operations, the bank also runs overseas investment finance program, but that's basically for encouraging Indian companies to set up overseas operations. In today's virtual seminar, my colleague from India Exim Bank will also provide more information on the various programs of Exim Bank for the Indian project exporters. The bank has regularly collaborated with the ADB for organizing business opportunity seminar. The bank considers organizing such programs as part of its mandate of promoting and facilitating the growth of India's foreign trade. Today's virtual seminar aims to provide information to participants on ADB's ongoing and upcoming business opportunities, doing business with ADB and the ADB procurement system, update on ADB's procurement processes and systems, opportunities emerging in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, and India Exim Bank's financing programs for project exports. Overall, the virtual seminar presents an opportunities for Indian companies to receive strategic inputs on participation in ADB-funded projects in overseas markets. Our joint efforts in creating more awareness about these projects through such seminars, I hope, will contribute to greater involvement of Indian companies in the ADB-funded projects. I urge all of you to optimally utilize this opportunity for gaining a deeper understanding of business opportunities, procedures, and guidelines for the benefit of your respective organizations. And I look forward to an interactive and fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Let me now introduce our next speaker, Mr. Samir Kumar Khare, Executive Director on the Board of Directors at the ADB, representing the constituencies of Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Laos PDR, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. A senior IS officer of Government of India with over 32 years of professional experience in public policy and development finance, Mr. Khare was Additional Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Finance, before joining the ADB. Mr. Khare has represented the country in various capacities, holding key positions including India's Sous Sherpa in G20 co-chair, G20 Framework Working Group, India Director in CERC Development Fund, India Director in Executive Board in IFAD Rome, India Alternative Governor in IFAD Rome, India Director in AIB Beijing, Dean Directors Forum AIB and member of the Steering Committee of IMF Regional Training Center, CERC, New Delhi, to name a few. Let me now invite Mr. Samir Kumar Khare, Executive Director of the ADB, to give his welcome remarks.
Thank you, Fanai. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I extend my warm welcome to Ms. Harsha Bangri, Managing Director, Indian Exim Bank, and her colleagues from ADB, participants to this outreach seminar, ladies and gentlemen. I am very happy to be here amongst you in this business opportunities outreach seminar jointly hosted by Indian Exim Bank and the Asian Development Bank. ADB and the India Exim Bank have a long-standing partnership. The business opportunity seminars periodically conducted by the ADB and Indian Exim Bank have enabled sharing of information on the nature of business opportunities for suppliers, contractors, and consultants in ADB-funded projects and outlined learnings for Indian companies for effective participation in such projects. Contractors, suppliers, and consultants are an essential part of the project delivery and can provide inputs at all stages of the project cycle and supply chain. Outreach programs such as this aim to build the interest and capacity of consultants, contractors, non-government organizations, and civil society organizations in pursuing ADB's business opportunities and in understanding its procurement and anti-corruption procedures and contribute to the development journey of the member countries. These outreach activities benefit ADB finance projects in its developing member countries by enhancing competition for ADB finance contracts and partnerships, thereby promoting higher quality market offers that deliver optimal value for money. Having said this, it would be appropriate to provide a brief overview of ADB and its operation in India to set the context of today's outreach seminar. India is a founding member of Asian Development Bank in 1966. Today, India is the fourth largest shareholder with 6.3% of shareholding and remain top borrower since 2010. Since commencing India's journey operation in 1986, ADB has responded to India's evolving development priorities to support the country's inclusive economic transformation, complemented by promoting private sector development, gender empowerment, and regional integration, and knowledge services as well as capacity development. Since 1986, as of 31st December 2021, ADB has committed 269 sovereign loans totaling almost $51 billion for India. The bank committed a record $4.6 billion in sovereign lendings to India in 2021 for 17 loans, including $1.8 billion for the country's coronavirus pandemic response. ADB's COVID-19 assistance comprised $1.5 billion for vaccine procurement and $300 million to strengthen primary health care in urban areas and the country's future pandemic preparedness. In addition to sovereign loans, ADB also committed $274 million to private sector projects in 2021 for COVID-19 support, highways improvement, energy efficiency, affordable housing, and increasing farmers' income. Since the ADB started its operation in 1966 till 2020, the cumulative contract awards for goods, works, and related services in the Asian Pacific region total almost to $217 billion. covering a total of 2,22,415 project contracts. Of these, around 14,557 contracts worth almost USD 33 billion, which is 15% of the total contract, have been awarded since 1966 to Indian contractors and suppliers. In addition, cumulative contracts for consulting service since 1966 amounted to US $14.13 billion, covering 67,086 contracts. Of these, around 4,499 contracts worth USD 968 million, which amounts to 6.9% in overall value of ADB contracts, have been awarded to consultants from India. And despite the limitation caused by the pandemic in 2021, ADB achieved nearly 2.7 billion in contracts award and USD 1.9 billion in disbursement, which is a huge amount. I find there is a complementarity in the mandate of ADB and Indian Exim Bank, namely fostering sustainable economic development, supporting regional cooperation through infrastructure development, economic integration, and intra-regional trade among member countries. India Exim Bank's flagship financing program, such as line of credit program, buyer's credit under NEIA, and the concessional financing scheme, not only promote exports from Indian companies, but the concessional nature of these programs also serve as a key development partnership tool aimed at strengthening critical infrastructure in partner countries. Further, India Exim Bank has also been at the forefront of strengthening regional cooperation. The Exim Bank's Forum, formed in 1996 at the initiative of the Indian Exim Bank, facilitate interaction amongst export credit agencies in the Asia region, and ADB has a permanent observer status in the AEBF Forum, which aims at fostering regional cooperation by forging stronger links among member institutions and exchanging information and sharing ideas in a structured manner. Taking this opportunity, I would like to request ADB and India Exim Bank to further deepen their association and explore avenues on how best the financing instruments, knowledge, and expertise that both institutions bring to this table can be leveraged to make meaningful developmental impact, particularly in the SME sector and sustainable infrastructure space. Lastly, I hope the participants in this seminar will find the sessions enriching and help discover the advantages of ADB finance contracts, understand ADB's policies and procedures for procurement of goods and works, consultants, and receive information on business opportunities available under ADB funded projects. I wish the seminar and everyone present the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the welcome remarks. Let me now introduce our next speaker, Mr. Rustam Abdukayumur. Starting as a portfolio manager, management officer in ADB's Uzbekistan resident mission, Mr. Abdukayumur later moved to become a procurement specialist in PPFD with 21 years of experience in various key, including large and complex turnkey, civil work and supply contracts in the irrigation, transport, urban and energy sectors, carrying out country, sector and project procurement, risk assessment, among others. Mr. Abdukayumur is currently the Director of Procurement Division 2 of Procurement Portfolio and Financial Management Department, PPFD in ADB, and he oversees procurement and consulting services operating in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Pacific countries. Let me now join me in welcoming Mr. Abdukayumur for his introductory remarks. So back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fonai, and good morning to all our colleagues in India, and good day to our colleagues from ADB, wherever you are. It's my pleasure indeed to welcome you all to this virtual business opportunity seminar. I would like to extend my thanks to our host organization, Indian Exim Bank, for initiating this event and helping us to organize it. But I would also like to thank Ms. Bangari, Managing Director of Indian Exim Bank, and Mr. Hari, Executive Director for India at ADB, for your support and for your opening remarks. As it was already mentioned, this is not the first time ADB and Indian Exim Bank hold joint events. Those of you who have prior experience working with ADB may know that every year until 2019, ADB has organized the so-called Business Opportunities Fair in Manila. This was a good opportunity to network with ADB staff and also learn about business opportunities within ADB. Last time we had this business opportunities fair in 2019, it was attended by more than 1,000 participants from all over the world. Unfortunately, starting from 2020, due to COVID-related travel restrictions, we could not host these events in person, but we successfully organized business opportunities seminars in virtual format, as we have it today. In 2020, we conducted 34 such events. In 2021, this figure went up to 53. And we are very happy to see that there is a growing interest from business communities to continue with the virtual format. Despite the pandemic, ADB's portfolio is continuously growing and new types of projects are being prepared. Just to give an example, currently ADB's sovereign operations portfolio stands at about 100 billion US dollars. It means the value of all ongoing projects financed by ADB under government guarantees. In addition to that, we have about 14 billion of non-sovereign portfolio, which are loans which are not guaranteed by the government, but they are provided by ADB's private sector operations department. In 2021, ADB provided more than 200 million for consulting services that ADB administers itself. It means ADB does recruitment for consultants and manages these contracts. We financed close to 3,000 contracts with individual consultants and 250 contracts with firms. But in addition to that, there are many consulting opportunities under loans and grants that are managed by our borrowers. And in 2021, ADB has spent about $700 million for such activities. And since ADB portfolio is growing and more complex projects are being designed, there is increasing need from the borrowers for good civil work contractors and consulting services. These opportunities are advertised on ADB website. Many large contractors have offices in many countries where they would like to operate, and therefore they closely monitor about those opportunities. But when it comes to consulting industry, since the number of consulting firms is much larger and not all of them have an opportunity to have offices in all the countries where they want to work, we are providing these kind of seminars to share what opportunities are available in different parts of Asian region. At today's event, we will focus on ADB's operations covering energy and transport sector. These two sectors are traditionally the largest. Transport was always number one, followed by the energy sector, and probably because India is also one of the largest borrowers with very huge portfolio, the same proportion would be applicable to Indian portfolio, meaning that the transport and energy have significantly large share in overall portfolio. These two sectors are also very diverse, and there are many subsectors where there are completely different opportunities. In the transport sector, it's roads, highways, bridges, tunnels, railways, airports, seaports, urban transport, metros. In energy, it's power generation, power transmission, distribution, renewable energy, smart grids, smart metering, and so on. So you can see there is quite a big range of subsectors where ADB can provide opportunities for companies from India. Similar to all other sectors where ADB finances infrastructure projects, these two sectors were seriously affected by the pandemic. Because due to the travel restrictions, many consultants and contractors could not work in the field, and many large contracts were put on hold. But last year, we saw some signs of improvement as many countries allowed contractors to resume work, subject to compliance with the required health and safety protocols. And we hope this year the situation will improve further and there will be more and more opportunities for contractors and consultants. As we see in many countries, borrowers are looking for consulting support, not only in traditional areas of project implementation and monitoring, but also in technically more complex areas such as detailed engineering design, field surveys, computer modeling, procurement of large infrastructure contracts, and construction supervision, where consultants act as engineers. New technical solutions, innovations, and project design are also the areas of interest for ADB and its borrowers, and I hope you will be able to share your experience with ADB colleagues in this area. Today, we will have 3 speakers from ADB. The first will be Dan Millison, who will be talking about business opportunities in the energy sector, followed by Dan will be Michael Anyala, who will be discussing about opportunities in the transfer sector. And then we will have Janina Rohr, our principal procurement specialist, who will talk about ADB's procurement processes and systems and all opportunities related to procurement, including COVID-related opportunities. So life goes on, and we continue our collaboration with the business communities around the world despite the pandemic. And we value our cooperation with business partners in the preparation and implementation of ADB finance projects. I hope you will find this event interesting and useful. And most importantly, I hope it will help you win contracts under ADB projects. So now I'll hand over back to Mr. Fanai. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the introductory remarks. With that, we will move to the technical session. I thank all the speakers for taking time and making them available for the event. We will have speakers from the ADB and followed by speakers from Exim Bank and Ecgc. There will be a chat box, Q&A session. There will be a chat box. From there, you can put your questions if you have anything to ask. We also will share with you the email ID of the speakers at the later stage. So that in case you have any further queries, we will connect you to the speakers. Now, let me welcome Mr. Dan Mellison. Mr. Dan Mellison is currently supporting ADB's technical assistance program for innovative high-impact technology in energy sector operations. He has 35 years plus professional experience as a consultant and former senior energy specialist with the ADB. He has helped mobilize well over $10 billion in the climate-friendly investments, including more than $1 billion in co-financing from the Climate Investment Fund and the Green Climate Fund. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mollison. I will be sharing the presentation from here, and just let me know when you wanted to move the slide. Please bear with me.
Okay, thanks very much, Fanai, and thanks very much, Ms. Bangari, for the introductory remarks and hosting. Normally, the head of the energy sector group would give this presentation. Dr. Priyantha Wijayatunga unfortunately is not available today, so he asked me to take cover for him. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'll quickly go through here and give you an overview of the energy sector operations. I'm going to turn off my camera so that you can focus on the slides now. Next slide, please. So ADB's energy sector operations are guided by global commitments, especially Sustainable Development Goal number 7 and the Paris nationally determined commitments on climate change, which have been supplemented by COP26 at Glasgow last year. And ADB Strategy 2030, approved in late 2018, signals a shift from investment in supply-side market segments to investments in productive end uses of energy. Next. So this gives you an idea here under Strategy 2030. energy investments are inputs to 7 operational priorities. Energy investments should target meeting basic needs and creating employment opportunities consistent with Sustainable Development Goal 7, and facilitate improvements in gender equality, food security, poverty reduction, etc., consistent with other Sustainable Development Goals and international climate agreements. Next. During the past 10 years, Adb energy operations have focused on supply side, mostly upstream generation, midstream transmission, and distribution segments. Downstream or demand side energy efficiency has accounted for a bit more than 20% of total energy operations. Next. And during the last 10 years, as you see in the blue columns, Adb total investment operations have grown with a big increase in 2020 due to COVID-19 response programs. Energy sector lending has been relatively stable at about $4 to $5 billion per year, and clean energy has been about $2 billion per year. Next. And this is just a snapshot of the 2020 energy lending by the various regional departments, as well as the private sector operations department, which covers all 5 of the subregions shown here. And on the sovereign side, each subregion has 1 or 2 big client countries. In Central and West Asia, it's Pakistan. In East Asia, it's China. In South Asia, Bangladesh and India. In Southeast Asia, Indonesia and Vietnam. The Pacific has not had a comparable big client country, but there are some larger projects in the pipeline in Papua New Guinea, Samoa, and the Solomon Islands. Next. In the energy access segment, Adb has had some success expanding electricity access, but clean cooking remains a very challenging subsector. Next. And although Adb is making a major effort in the clean energy space, the contributions, the direct financial investment contributions to the global greenhouse gas balance look pretty modest. To really make a difference globally, we need to get more leverage through Adb investments. And what I mean is that we need to go from millions of tons of CO2 per year to billions of tons per year. And I'd like to quote former president of the American Society of Civil Engineers, Professor John Crittenden. He says, we need gigatech solutions for gigaton problems. Next. So to enable the energy transition, going from millions of tons per year to billions of tons per year of CO2 reduction, we need new ideas for leveraging Adb's capital resources. And the knowledge work is intended to translate best practices and new ideas into new investments. And so for inspiration, gigatech solutions for gigaton problems is an organizing principle, if you will. A few other organizing principles unofficially that we hear from Adb colleagues is, one is that it's 90% inspiration and 10% perspiration. And another is that there's money for the project if there's a project for the money. We know that especially in the climate change space, globally, there's plenty of money to address all the problems. We don't need new technology. We can solve the problems with what's commercially available off the shelf. What we need is some innovation in business models, and actually we can learn quite a bit from India in this context. Next. Let me talk a little bit about innovative technologies for clean energy. On the technology front, ADB has done some significant energy storage and smart grid investments. A few of these are shown here. The one in Mongolia is quite noteworthy. The Navoy solar project in Uzbekistan is noteworthy. This is a public-private project with auctions instead of feed-in tariffs. And this particular project is very much inspired by the India National Solar Mission, specifically the India Solar Parks business model. ADB is continuing to support carbon capture utilization and storage through technical assistance, but after more than 10 years of effort, there are still no large-scale investments in view. Green hydrogen is rapidly evolving globally, and we are doing some work through technical assistance on green hydrogen, and we may see some new investments during the next few years. Next. And just looking ahead here, 2021, 22, we expect total energy investments to be $4 to $5 billion in 2021 and in 2022. And clean energy should be close to half of the energy investments, maybe more. In the context of COVID-19 recovery and climate change, I'd like to mention that there's a very specific need for retrofit of air conditioning systems to be disease resilient and super efficient. And ADB does have an ongoing technical assistance project to help identify candidate investment opportunities in this segment. Next. Most of the projects in the energy pipeline are still in the upstream generation and midstream grid segments. And we are starting to see some cross-sectoral projects consistent with Strategy 2030. For example, the projects noted in China, low carbon transformation in urban areas, Shanxi low carbon and beautiful village development. These are cross-sector. These are not traditional energy generation or grid projects. I would emphasize, you see in the small print up, the second line on the slide there, more information is available on ADB's website. There's a lot of information there on the project pipeline. The project database is searchable by country, sector, year of approval, type of funding, and with a little bit of practice, it is actually quite easy to navigate. Next. Strategy 2030 is also evident, for example, in the proposed Indonesia electric bus project. The second project listed there, Sustainable Transition Project Damri, is one of the big public transport operators. And again, I don't want to mention any more of these. I mean, Samoa allow a multi-purpose dam project. That's cross-sector. I think it's listed as an energy project. Again, I would emphasize, look at the ADB website and look for the countries in which you have an interest. And you can find the country operation business plan at the link shown there. For example, I've shown the Cambodia country operations business plan. These are updated every year, and this covers the 3-year rolling program. So you can learn quite a bit about what's in the pipeline from ADB's website and focus your efforts in terms of what type of consulting opportunities or other procurement opportunities you'd like to target. Next. Going forward, ADB will focus on clean energy, increasing the share of clean energy in the energy investment operations, with more emphasis on smart grid, related digitization of energy systems and services, and greater attention to multi-sector investments consistent with Strategy 2030. Next. And you may be aware that ADB updated its energy policy in 2021. I think of this as an evolution of the policy. There's not really much that's new. There is an explicit focus on energy as an enabling factor for inclusive development, climate change, including climate resilience, a very clear shift away from fossil fuels, and more emphasis on cross-sector operations. Again, this is what's the cross-sector operations are in ADB Strategy 2030. And if you're not aware, let me make this real clear. ADB is not going to fund any new coal-fired power or coal-fired heating plants, and investments in natural gas and other hydrocarbons will be considered only if such investments will clearly contribute to greenhouse gas emission reductions. Next. Just a few final words here to reemphasize ADB does a lot of technical assistance, a lot of knowledge work, but the main business is lending. And ADB client countries and non-sovereign sponsors really drive the lending operations. And this is particularly important in the context of bringing advanced technologies and business models to the project pipeline. ADB and other multilateral development banks are like Hollywood and Bollywood, where the hardest thing to finance is an original idea. ADB can suggest innovative approaches, innovative technology, innovative business models, but if the client countries don't want those innovative things, then it's not going to happen. Now, alternatively, if client countries ask ADB to support innovative technologies and business models, it's very difficult for ADB to say no. So I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Billison. We should be moving to the sectoral presentation on transport sector from Michael Aniela. Dr. Michael Aniela is a senior road asset management specialist at the Transport Sector Group, Sustainable Development and Climate Change Department, Asian Development Bank. Dr. Aniela has over 15 years of experience in transport, working internationally with development organizations, governments, private sector, and research institutions. He is road asset management technical lead at ADB and provides advice on road subsector strategic direction and technical issues to operating department and developing member countries. Dr. Aniela obtained his PhD and Masters of Science in Road Management from the University of Birmingham. Let me now introduce Dr. Aniela to make his presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll just wait for the slides to come up. So as we wait for the slides to come up, let me just start by saying that by way of quick background, ADB supports developing member countries in designing and implementing transport infrastructure services. And historically, providing connectivity and accessibility has been the absolute critical in empowering trade and socio-economic growth. So could you go to the next slide, please? Right, so we can go to the next one. So right, yes. So what you see there is a snapshot of how our portfolio has evolved since the 1990s. So I know it's a very busy slide, but really the most obvious trend is investment in transport sector has been growing, as you can see from the graph below. But like Dan mentioned earlier, you can see a blip in 2020 as well as in 2021. And this is due to some reallocation of resources to pandemic recovery. But in this, we expect that this will pick up gradually from here. So the blue segment represents the road sector. So this has been a substantial portion of our transport investments, which has provided much needed connectivity to employment and markets, as well as basic connectivity for resilience. But you'll also notice from these graphs that over time, rail and urban subsector projects have grown and now represents almost half of the portfolio. So this reflects shifting development needs with growth in population and demand for sustainable transport systems. Next slide, please. So what is being shown there is a zoomed in snapshot of these 4 years from 2020 to 2023. So as mentioned, there was a dip in 2021 and 2020 due to funds being diverted to respond to the pandemic recovery efforts. The other point I'd like to highlight is that rail investments can be quite lumpy. So what this means is that we cannot have a steady approval of rail projects. So they take time to prepare, but once one is approved, you'll see a large investment. And then the other point I'd like to make is that, as you can see from the graphs, urban transport investments are getting stronger with time. And this again reflects demand from client countries. I also like to highlight that the allocations for each year within ADB are quite fixed. So our operation departments need to balance approvals based on readiness of projects. So in other words, it's more meaningful to look at more aggregate efforts in 3 years rather than focusing on a year-by-year basis. Next slide, please. So here again are ADB's operational priorities that project design is aligned with. And as you can see, it's quite cross-cutting. Transport projects don't just need to provide capacity and address poverty reduction. It must also deliver core benefits, such as in accelerating gender equality, tackling climate change and environmental sustainability, food security, livable cities, and much more. In terms of value addition, there's of course financing as well as increasing focus on knowledge and partnerships. So with governments, with the private sector and relevant stakeholders. Another thing to highlight is that with emergence of disruptive technologies, this is an area of growing potential, and we in ADB are seeking ways to harness advanced technologies in project design and delivery. So for example, at the moment we are working with other partners in the private sector to explore the use of digital twin solutions to improve the design and implementation and management of infrastructure assets. Sorry about the slides, there's something happening with it. Next slide, please. So this slide demonstrates how transport systems can be an enabler of development with direct links to Strategy 2030 operational priorities. Next, please. Now, with high-level objectives in mind, I would like to briefly share the focus areas in the 5 regions that ADB operates in, starting with Central West Asia. So as you can see, there is a strong focus on developing the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program, or CAREC in short. Other focus areas include rehabilitation of roads and railway networks to enhance regional connectivity, development of economic corridors, development of border infrastructure to enable efficient trade. Road maintenance and road safety is increasingly becoming very important and of high demand by our client countries. And there's also quite a number of urban transport projects in this region, like bus rapid transit projects. And I will highlight a few of those a bit later. Next, please. So next we travel to South Asia, where India is also included. So these are just highlights. So there are many opportunities in road projects, mass transit, urban transport projects, also regional rail projects as indicated by the South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation projects in Bangladesh. There are also a wide range of other transport projects, including some maritime and large-scale road safety results-based lending projects that is being processed in India as well. Next, please. Right, so onwards to Southeast Asia. So in this region, we see here strong emphasis on regional cooperation as our teams work on deepening efforts to enhance the Greater Mekong sub-region connectivity, particularly for multimodal logistics. So this will contribute greatly towards trade facilitation in the region. And with increasing trends on urbanization, there are many opportunities to enhance urban transport. So for example, in the Philippines, there's a project underway, which is the Davao Public Transport Modernization Project. And this is an e-mobility project. And this helps governments to transition towards low carbon pathways. Also within Manila, we have the Green Infrastructure Project, the Adb approved Ecgc Green Waste Project. So the project will build on or improve a total of 5 kilometers of covered elevated walkways around 4 MRT stations. So this really will contribute towards improving the pedestrian environment in 4 areas along Ecgc, which is a major artery in Metro Manila, and contributes to promoting active mobility, zero carbon pathways, and also promoting livable cities. So here in Southeast Asia, we also have strong rail portfolio. So we have had some large investments recently. So for example, in 2019, when Adb approved the Malolos-Clark Railway project in the Philippines. And our project teams are continuing to explore opportunities, additional opportunities also within the Philippines. And there are also a number of road investments within this region. Next, please. Now, in the Pacific, there's a strong focus on climate change adaptation. And this thematic aspect is reflected in the types of projects that Adb delivers in this region. So there are road projects with strong adaptation resilience components in the countries that are shown. So PNG, Fiji, Solomon, Vanuatu, and others. There are also several maritime projects across several developing member countries in the Pacific. So it's not just about delivering increased capacity in the Pacific, but also tying in with resilience action, such as adapting to rising sea levels, providing emergency response measures, amongst others. Next, please. Right, so in East Asia, Adb looks after 2 very different countries. So the People's Republic of China, which is an upper middle income country, and Mongolia, which has very different set of challenges. So in the PRC, the key objectives are to promote environmental sustainability while supporting public transport projects, and also promote low carbon modes and energy efficient technology. In Mongolia, the focus tends to be on enhancing connectivity for regional trade, connecting rural populations to markets, as well as urban transport systems. So projects in Mongolia and the PRC are normally cross-sector, So the link across transport links across other sectors as well. Next, please. So as I'm getting towards the end of my presentation, I'd just like to share some key messages. So the first is that roads are still an important sector. So you saw the graph that I showed earlier, which showed investment in roads reducing, but it still remains the largest subsector within the transport sector. So it's really important to have roads to provide continuity, to provide the necessary connectivity and access to jobs, markets, and international trades. But then what we will expect to see in the coming years is increased emphasis on systems management for roads. So particularly asset management and addressing the externalities that come with investment in roads, such as CO2 emissions and road safety. And going with that, we will also be focusing our efforts on scaling up decarbonization of mobility. So we are promoting e-buses, electric 2- and 3-wheelers, and these efforts will be accelerated in the coming years. And as you may already know, ADB has committed to aligning all our sovereign operations to the goals of the Paris Agreement by July of next year. So also, I'd like to highlight that there are also changing demands from our clients. So we are seeing an appreciation for more systems approach and efficiency gains. So just to give you an example, a lot of countries in Asia and the Pacific already have large road networks. And increasingly, what the really clients are requiring is, how can we manage these road networks and operate them in a more effective and efficient way? So we will be looking at investments in areas like asset management, tackling aging infrastructure, and those kind of things. And then earlier also I talked about advanced technology. So here, there are lots of new technology that's happening at the moment. So things like big data, high internet connectivity, autonomous systems. So these disruptive technologies are changing the way in which we deliver our projects in a big way. One of the biggest questions is also changing behavioral patterns and the digital lifestyles, like e-commerce, changing travel patterns. So for example, it took me, seconds to travel to this virtual meeting because of digital technology. So the question is, how will these technologies change the way we design future-ready transport systems? So this is a major question that we are answering within ADB by partnering with private sector and other partners to pilot these technologies in our projects. Next, please. Right, so I just wanted to end by just highlighting some flagship and innovative projects that ADB is implementing. There are video that goes with this, and we will share this at the end of the presentations, just a link so that you can watch it at your own time. So the first one there is the Peshawar Brt Project, which is the first ADB financed BRT system in Central and West region. It adopts the latest and highest standards for public transport projects. Next, please. So the other flagship project is the Delhi Meerut Regional Rapid Transport System, which is in India, of course. And this project was selected as being flagship and innovative for showcasing its effective gender mainstreaming work and integrating key gender indicators in project design. So, like I mentioned, I will share the videos for the in the chat later so that you can actually be able to view it at your own time. So thank you. I think this ends my presentation. So back to you, Fanai.
Thank you very much, Michael, for the sectoral presentation on the business opportunity, focusing on the transport sector. So let me now introduce our next speaker, Ms. Janina Roll, from the Adb. Ms. Roll has been working in the procurement in Latin America, the Middle East and Asia for more than 30 years. She is currently a principal procurement specialist in the Procurement Division 1 of the Adb, supporting the procurement portfolio of the India resident mission. Prior to her current position, Ms. Rohr was assigned to the regional departments of East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Pacific in Adb headquarters in Manila, providing procurement and consulting services, advice to China, Mongolia, Indonesia, Philippines, and 14 Pacific Island countries. May I now request Ms. Janina Rohr to make presentation on doing business with Adb and the Adb procurement system. I just share this slide.
Thank you, Mr. Fanai, and good morning, good afternoon to all participants in this business opportunity seminar on doing business with Adb. I am very pleased to be with you and to walk you through what is Adb Procurement Framework and where you can find the Adb opportunities in our website and how the invitation to bid and the request for proposals are published in our website, as well as in the websites of our borrowers. Next one, please, Mr. Fanai. I will close my camera to optimize the bandwidth as I am in Vancouver. So we will talk today about briefly about what Adb is and its operations, because we have already heard the previous speakers about that. I will show you what are the top suppliers in Adb projects, the top suppliers from India, and then what is the Adb procurement framework. Also, what are the Adb procurement procedures to procure goods, works, planned projects, turnkey EPC projects, and consulting and non-consulting services. What are some of the bidding strategies that are very important for you to bear in mind when you prepare your bids, so your bids can have a high chance to winning the contracts. And the last portion of my presentation is to how to find opportunities in our website. And identifying also the business opportunities relating to COVID-19. Next one, please, Mr. Fanai. Okay, so Adb, as you may know, is a multilateral public non-profit institution founded in 1966, headquartered in Manila, Philippines, conformed by 68 member countries, 49 regional countries, and 19 non-regional shareholders, and 41 borrowing members. We work, as a previous speaker said, in 5 regional departments, and the main instruments through which we provide assistance to our borrowers are loans and grants, which is the sovereign operation envelope, technical assistance, which are, as Mr. Rustam said, are the projects where we, Adb, hires consultants and procures goods, and also projects through equity and guarantees. The biggest Adb borrowers are India, People's Republic of China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. Next one, please. So this is the Adb Active Portfolio up to 2021, last year, only 2 months ago, under the sovereign portfolio by region. What that means by sovereign portfolio are the loans and grants that our borrowers implement directly. It's not the private sector, but the borrowers, the governments. And there you have the distribution, $34.5 billion US active portfolio in South Asia, where India is located. Central and West Asia, 23 billion, East Asia, 14, Southeast Asia, 27, where Philippines is. And then the Pacific region, which is composed by 14 small island countries, $3.2 billion. And in the right side of your screen, you see how it has evolved, the investment in the sectors. So transport from 2020 was 29%, in 2021, 27%, as Michael indicated, because of the pandemic, resources were shifted to other sectors, especially health and education. Then energy also reduced a little bit from 20 to 19%, while water and other municipal services increased from 12 to 13%. Agriculture investment stayed the same, and public sector management decreased also a little bit from 12% to 11%, while other sectors, which include, as I said, health sector, the support to COVID-19 response projects increased from 16 to 20%. Next one, please, Mr. Fanay. And this is the non-sovereign portfolio, meaning the private sector operations, which is the PSOD, the Department of Private Sector Operations. And it has increasing substantially, while obviously it's small in size comparing to the sovereign portfolio. Next one, please. Okay, so from here onwards, I will show you the top suppliers for works, goods, consulting services. This one is in the procurement of goods by member state in the last 4 years. And you can see that India, marked in red, is in the top ranked suppliers across the board, along with China, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Turkey, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Denmark. Next one, please. Whereas for the procurement of works, civil works, and turnkey projects, EPC projects, again, India is top contractor, and in 2021 is #1. So is the member state that got more civil works contracts and EPC contracts. Next one, please. This slide shows you consulting services. Again, India is among the 5 top consulting services firms, and in 21, again, ranked #1, along with Indonesia, Japan, France, and Australia. Next one, please. Now, the top suppliers, who are the firms, the suppliers, the contractors that get the more contracts in the period from 2018 to 2021. We have UNICEF last year, especially last year, because of the support to COVID-19. So through UNICEF, the supply of the vaccines increment significantly. And then Sinovac, the second one, BMLA, TBA, those are from India, and China National Technical Import. So this is for the procurement of goods. And as I said, #1, it considers the vaccine, #1 and #2. Next one, please. For the procurement of works, including plant projects, EPC, turnkey projects, in the same period, we have India, #1, with Larsen & Toubro, Siemens, China Railway Group, NCC Limited India, Acciona Construction Philippines. So these are the 5 top suppliers who got the largest number of contracts. As you said, 41 contracts, 13, 20, 30, and 2, and the aggregated amount in the equivalent in US dollars. Next one, please, Mr. Fanay. And when it comes to consulting services, it's Aegis International, the French company. As Rustam said, is supervision, construction supervision, detailed design, project implementation support, and these specialized areas in consulting services. The second one is TY Lin International, SMEC, OBA Group, Korea Consultants International, and CTI Engineering International. So these are the consulting firms that got the largest number of contracts in the same period. Next slide, please, Mr. Fanay. Now, in India, so who are the 5 top contractor suppliers for goods, works, and related services in the period 2017 to 2021. So it's 5 years. And then you have Larsen and Toubro, BEML, NCC, Kalpataru, KEC, and others, contractors and suppliers, and mainly in agriculture, natural resources and environment, energy, transport, and water, and other municipal services that the contracts for goods, services, and turnkey contracts. And the amount of money in aggregate amount equivalent in US dollars in the most right column in your slide. Next one, please. And when it comes to consulting services, we have from India, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Intercontinental Consultants, Technocrats, WAPCOs, Vision RE Connection, Tata Group. Individual consultants also is very interesting because it's a very significant number in terms of value. As you can see, all together, the total amount of contracts that individual consultants from India, it's larger than the individual contracts for the firms, and others. It's also very important in all the sectors. No, next one, please. So why would you be interested in bidding for ADB finance projects? First of all, because you have the certainty that the financing, the budget will be released by ADB to finance the contracts that had been awarded for the goods, the works, and the services. It's also, as we explained in the slides and my previous speakers, there are so many opportunities in Asia and the Pacific, and it's fast-growing economies across all the sectors of the economies of the countries. So there is a lot of opportunities for you to see where you can compete and get the contracts. Same, the rapidly growing portfolio in ADB has grown exponentially, especially in the last 10 years. And the procurement framework, the procurement practices that our borrowers need to follow according to the legal agreements are internationally accepted procurement practices that include fairness and the highest ethical standards. So, and on the other side, you know that ADB, we exercise our role of fiduciary supervision of the procurement processes run by the borrowers. Next one, please. So this shows the graphic of the program cycle as well as the procurement cycle. So starting from the formulation of the country partnership strategy, which is the mother document that that compiles what will be the ADB financed support for the country in a given cycle, and then to the project conceptualization, the procurement planning, the bidding, the formulation of the bidding documents and the bidding tender, the reception of the bids and the bid evaluation, then the recommendation of award, the contract award, contract signing. The most important part is the implementation and the contract management to finally, once the inputs that have been procured for goods, works, turnkey contracts, consulting services, and non-consulting services, they have been implemented, and then the project is comes to completion, and the to project completion and evaluation and feedback. So what it shows that in all these phases of the program and project, the ADB relies on consultants, firms, individual consultants, suppliers, contractors, and consultants. So because it's the private sector who will bid out and actually implement the input to get the output of the project. Next one, please. So which are the types of opportunities? We finance the procurement of goods, which include lots of machinery for plant projects, equipment, all sorts of equipment, IT and hardware and software and furniture, school supplies, hospital supplies, etc. For the civil works, on the other hand, we finance projects that will rehabilitate or build roads, highways, railways. There is a very important subsector in the transport sector in terms of railways, bridges, irrigation canals, schools, rehabilitation of schools or the construction of new schools, power plants, pump stations, water treatment plants, heating plants, airports, runways. And in the consulting services area, as we have been mentioning, feasibility studies, detailed designs, construction supervision, and a series of specialized areas. Something happened. Mr. Fanay? Mr. Fanay? You are showing.
Yeah, Fana, you're showing some other presentation. Yeah.
Yes, you're showing other presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go to slide 19 probably. Yeah, there. All right. Now, currently, we have two procurement frameworks. The one that was approved in April 2017 and applies to contracts with concept papers approved on or after 1st July 2017, and the old procurement framework, which is the Procurement Guidelines 2015 and the Consulting Services Guidelines 2013. So these two frameworks are running in parallel, and we think that the old framework will graduate in a couple of years, and then only the 2017 framework will apply. And it is important to mention that what we did in the new procurement framework is a shift from a rules-based approach to a principles-based approach. So to a fit-for-purpose approach in terms of what the procurement arrangement should be defined to fit the purpose of the project. Next one, please. Okay, the 6 core principles in the procurement: fairness, economy, efficiency, transparency, quality, and value for money. It means that I will not read because the slides, you will get the slides, but it means that any and all procurement packages and procurement processes that are being tendered under Adb finance projects have to respond to the core principles in procurement. Next one, please. Also, it's important for you to understand the differences in the roles that each of the stakeholders in the Adb finance projects, each of the entities we play. So the borrower, the executing implementing agency, meaning the government, is responsible to procure the goods, the works, the non-consulting services, and consulting services. So all the procurement decisions that are made under a project are made by the borrower. Adb does not make procurement decisions on behalf of the borrower. When we, under our technical assistance projects, we do the procurement of the consultants or the procurement of goods and works, but only under Adb technical assistance. But we review the procurement activities that the borrowers do, and we make sure that these procurement decisions are in compliance with the Adb procurement policy and regulations. Our preferred option is the open competitive bidding, and only the technical and financial bid elements should be in consideration when the evaluation of the bids and the formulation of the bidding documents, and no external elements should play any role in the competitive processes. Next one, please. These are the procurement methods to procure goods and works. The preferred methods, as I said, is the open competitive bidding, but there are other methods like limited competitive bidding, request for quotation for a small value contracts, framework agreements, like for example, for the recurrent supply of medicines, drugs, school supplies, etc. Electronic reverse auction is a new method that we introduced in the 2017 procurement framework. There is borrower's force account and direct contracting when the direct contracting method is warranted and justified. Next one, please. To facilitate the procurement processes, we have published in our website 8 standard bidding documents for pre-qualification for the procurement of goods, works, large and small works, plant design, supply and installation, IT equipment, design, build, operate, request for quotations, the consulting services, which is the standard request for consultant, and the non-consulting services. Next one, please. And also we have 9 user guides. So the private sector and the borrower, they get information on how to formulate the bidding documents for the specific packages. What are the common mistakes in preparing bids? So these are some of to-dos and don'ts when you are preparing bids. So you need to know that a bid that is not signed or does not include the bid security or the bid security declaration if required, normally will be disqualified. If the bid security does not respond to the requirements, even though was requested to be corrected, it might be disqualified. Lack of supporting documents. If you offered a JV agreement, JV partners, and there is no JV agreement or there are no audited financial statements, past performance certificates, incomplete bids, partial bids. So all these aspects are crucial in the bidding documents. So in the evaluation of the bids, non-conformance with the requirements of the bidding documents, when it's a major deviation, are grounds for disqualification of the bids. Minor omissions to the documents can be rectified, but so long it will not give the bidder an unfair advantage vis-a-vis the competitors and the other bidders who have submitted bid in the specific contest. Next one, please. As it was mentioned before, Adb expects the highest ethical standards in all stakeholders all throughout the procurement processes. So we have the Adb's anti-corruption policy and guidelines, and in all bidding documents of Adb, all provisions for anti-corruption are included in the bidding documents and are also included in the contracts that will be signed with between the borrower and the private sector, the contractors, suppliers, or consultants. So this anti-corruption policy and guidelines applies to executing and implementing agencies, to the contractors, consultants, suppliers, also to us, to Adb staff, and to the government officials, and anyone connected to an Adb financed, administered, or supported activity. And we expect that the highest ethical standards will be exercised all throughout the procurement cycle. Adb has a zero tolerance against anti-corruption. Next one, please. Now, consulting services, which is a very large area and market in the Adb Finance project. So what is it, the methods, and where you can find the opportunities? Next one, please. So we have consulting firms, individual consultants, and staff consultants. So the first two are hired under technical assistance, projects, loans, and grants, whereas the staff consultants are a staff that will supplement when a specific area in Adb we are short of staff. And these engagements can be national or international, but they has to be from an eligible member country, so any one of the 68 member countries. There is an exception in the 2017 procurement framework that a consultant, an individual consultant from a non-member country can be proposed under a consulting firm proposal so long the consulting firm is registered in an Adb member country. So this is a very interesting new feature in the procurement framework. Next one, please, Mr. Fanay. This is the workflow. So what happened? The detailed terms of reference and budget are advertised in the consulting management system. Then the expressions of interest that are received are evaluated and shortlisted, and the request for proposal is floated to the shortlist. The proposals, technical and financial proposals, are received in separate envelopes in the electronic procurement system. We will talk about that a bit later. And then the negotiation with the first rank company are done to finally reach an agreement and sign a contract and implement the contract. So this is the workflow to hire consulting firms. Next one, please. The methods to procure consultants, again, same as in the procurement of goods and works. For consultants, we prefer the open competition, which is the quality and cost-based selection, QCBS. We have also other methods, quality-based selection, QBS, consultants qualification selection, CQS, fixed budget selection, least cost selection, and direct contracting. So the QBS, CQS, FBS, and LCS normally are for a smaller size assignments, whereas direct contracting is allowed exclusively when it merits the consideration of the direct contracting, the sole source, and is duly justified. Next one, please. So what should be your strategy to enter the market and to win contracts? First, you need to understand what is your strength and versus what is required in the different call for expressions of interest. So you can consider either if you want to start winning contracts at first comer, so you can consider, instead of bidding out independently, to join and start as a consultant, for example, instead of trying by yourself. And then you need to understand what are the client's expectations. So if it's a education project, if it's a higher education support project, or fiscal budget support, or a highways project. So what are the expectations in terms of the consulting assignments that the government expects? So to understand the context and the background of the project, meet the borrower, meet the employer, and also meet and reach out the project officers in Adb. As Michael was saying, in the website, you will find the project officer's name and email addresses that you can reach out and find out about what are the business opportunities and the requirements that we expect from the private sector. And also, I will show you later, in the website, you can see which are the companies that have been awarded contracts and the contact details, so you can also explore opportunities to join strengths and present a JB technical proposal. And it's paramount, and I really emphasize this time and time again. If a bidding document, if a request for proposal is not clear, please ask the questions that you need to ask in case of doubt. So if the bidding document, the request for proposal, you have the right to ask and to request clarifications to the employer who is tendering the package. Next one, please. Debriefing and complaints. So in our framework, all unsuccessful bidders or consultants have the right to request debriefing from the procuring entity, either Adb or the executing agency, on the grounds why their bids or their proposals were disqualified. And in case you are not satisfied with the explanation given, so you can raise a complaint as well. So debriefing exercises are an excellent opportunity for you to understand where the gaps in your technical proposals or in your bids for the next time to prepare a better proposal. In terms of complaints, also Adb has a software. There you have the link to the website where you can file complaints in case there is need to file complaints, because bidders may file complaint directly with Adb or with the executing agency, with the employer, and copy Adb. but it has to be submitted through the website, and the form is there. And in terms of fraud, in case of fraud, also there is the website on how to report fraud, if that is the case. Next one, please. So this is the website. So in the Adb, www.adb.org in your browser, the landing page, there are these tabs, and you please go to Work with Us tab, and you will have the Business Center, the Operational Procurement, and the Projects and Tenders tabs. And this in this Business Center, you will have all the information for consultants, for contractor suppliers, and for the government's executing agency, for the public in general, but for consultants, contractors, and suppliers, which is your case. So there you have all the information that you need in terms of what is the Adb Procurement Framework, what are the rules, the regulations, what are the expected standards, how the evaluations how the bids are evaluated, how the contracts are awarded, what is the evaluation for the contractors, the suppliers, etc., and the specific invitation notices. So the invitations for bids, the invitations for shortlists, etc. Next one, please. So the Business Center, the Operational Procurement, also you will find Projects and Tenders tab. You click that tab and you will have the how-tos. So how you have to prepare the bid, how the bid will be evaluated, where are the policies and the regulations, the documents themselves, where are the procedures and the guidance notes. We have 26 guidance notes and a series of topics in procurement that give information, ample information of what is the Adb framework, and also the standard bidding documents, the standard request for proposal, and the user's guides, which is really of use to you when you have to prepare bids and technical proposals. Next one, please. So as I said, specific notices are in the operational procurement and in the business operational procurement. And also, it's important that you navigate the website and find who are the pre-qualified contractors. We publish every single contract award, 100,000 and above. So you will have a series of information from the database that will give you in all the sectors: transport, urban, water, education, health sector, who are the companies and individual consultants getting the contracts and the contact details. So if you can approach them to offer your services as subcontractor or subconsultant or as JV partner. Next one, please. Okay, so these are in the project and tender staff that I mentioned. You can, in the left side column, you can refine your search. Whatever you want, the 68 member countries per sector and per type of a package that you want, that you are interested in. For example, invitation for bids for works, goods, and turnkey contracts, or invitation for pre-qualification, or for consultants, for consulting services. So you can filter whatever you are interested, and the database will pop up all the active in this. Well, this example really is not the best one, because normally you click down active tenders, and the database will pop up all the active procurement processes where you can want to prepare and compete. And in the right side, you have the invitation for pre-qualification, how it looks like, and the invitation for bids, how it looks like. Next one, please. And for consulting services, we have our electronic procurement system for the engagement of consultants, and it's called Consultant Management System, CMS. So cms.adb.org. So if you are a consultant, please register, go to this platform, and again, you will find the consulting services recruitment notices, which are the requests for expressions of interest, and you can log in and register. Fast registration if you only want to explore the website, but then if you want to express interest and then compete, you will have to do the full registration. And in this website, you get all the information that you need in terms of consulting services. Next one, please. And these are the notices. So the requests for expressions of interest. Same as for procurement of goods and works, here you can filter whatever area of expertise or type of consulting services that you want or that you are interested in. For example, if you are an individual consultant, if you are a consulting firm, which sector, which country, what type of budget, what type of consultant source, etc. So you can filter, and the database will populate all the active requests for expressions of interest that you have that you have sorted. And then in the most right column, you will have the actual request for expression of interest. You can click the icon, and then it will display the all the tabs with the terms of reference, with the budget, with the type of selection, with the deadline, etc. Next one, please. So you want to get all the alerts automatically. So same for consulting services as well as for alerts for the procurement of goods and works for new processes. So please go to the website alerts.adb.org and in the CMS for consulting services, and you register whatever you want, daily, weekly, and if you want the notices for procurement of goods, works, or for consulting services that are according to the nature of your company. So you will get automatically the alerts, so you can see and see, okay, these are the business opportunities. Okay, I can explore this one or this one. Next one, please. Okay, and the last two slides that I have to offer to you today are the COVID-related opportunities. And in the where we work and what we do tabs in the main page of the adb.org. So it's the COVID-19 ADB's response. So there also you have down there the link for the procurement in projects related to the response to COVID-19 pandemic. Next one, please. And this is my last slide. In the CMS, you can also filter the consulting opportunities related to COVID-19. And I think that that's it. Next one, please. Yes. So there you have my contact information. I am ready for any question in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rohr, for the detailed presentation on the business opportunity of the Adb project, and also the entire process of getting procurement through this process, the Adb website. I would like to remind the participants to post their queries in the Q&A box, and in the chat box. You address it to all panelists so that our specialists can address the same. We will now have a presentation on India Exim Bank from Mr. T.D. Sivakumar, General Manager, India Exim Bank. Just to give you a brief introduction, Mr. Sivakumar has more than 25 years of work experience with over 21 years in Exim Bank in various departments and locations, including banks, project exports, corporate banking groups, and the bank's offices in Washington, D.C., Chennai, and Bengaluru. Mr. Sivakumar is currently heading Business Development Group. May I now request Mr. Sivakumar for a presentation in the Exim Bank's financing program for Indian project exporters. I just shared the screen.
Many thanks, Fanai, for your kind words. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, very much. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you share the presentation or I will share the presentation?
I'll share the presentation.
Okay.
Just-
Once again, Fanai, many thanks for your kind words. Colleagues from ADB, Ecgc, participants, especially project exporters from India and elsewhere, a very good afternoon. I'm delighted to be in this virtual business opportunity seminar for pipeline projects with ADB as one of the seminar in a series of seminars where ADB and Exim Bank is offering to the Indian project exporters. Next slide. To set the context, I would like to give a background of the bank's line of business. In last financial year, the Exim Bank had a customer asset portfolio of about 118,000 crores, which is about $15 billion approximately. Exim Bank, as many of you would be aware, is set up by an act of parliament. We offer medium to long-term credit to support international trade and investment. 80% of Exim's lending operations are in foreign currency. We are proxy to India's sovereign in international debt markets. We raise at a very, very competitive prices. Exim acts as a policy bank for India's economic diplomacy. In the Exim's financing, direct finance constitutes about 89% and refinance constitutes about 11%. If you see the right-hand side pie chart, it gives a region-wise exposure. You would see South Asia accounts to the largest share of 37.19, followed by East Africa, Southern Africa, and West Africa. On the bottom half, on the left-hand side, you'll see the loan portfolio, where export finance constitutes a significant share, followed by term loans for exporters and also investment finance and followed by a few other programs. On the bottom right side, you will see the non-funded portfolio, and again, where you will see the performance guarantees accounts for a major share, followed by APGs and other financial guarantees. Exim Bank's offering can be broadly categorized into export finance and export capability creation. Under export finance, Exim Bank offers lines of credit, buyer's credit and national expenditures account, pre-shipment, post-shipment, and guarantees for these programs. Under export capability creation, Exim Bank offers term loans, working capital, export product development, export facilitation, post investment finance, import finance, research and development, which could be very interesting for this gathering, and Ubirtha Sitare program, and BGs and LCs, again, which will be very interesting for this gathering. Next slide, Fanai. Yeah. Exim facilitates international trade through linkage overseas. Exim Bank has issued about 315 LOCs covering 64 countries with credit commitments of $32 billion. Under BCNA program, Exim Bank has supported 32 projects of the $2.88 billion financed for about 3.15 billion project cost. Exim Bank has been co-financing with the regional and multilateral development banks, credit lines to overseas banks and institutions and refinance. The bank has till date supported 38 ongoing project export contracts. Under project exports valued at $3.6 billion, supported 29 countries and 25 Indian companies during financial 2021. Same way, in aggregate level, overseas investment finance, Exim Bank has supported 637 ventures in 78 countries, an aggregate distance of about more than 65,000 crores. We are also working towards a program for credit enhancement for Indian companies. Next slide, Fanai. To start with lines of credit, as I mentioned, Exim Bank has a commitment of around $32 billion, an outstanding of about more than $6 billion. The bank has issued 350 lines of credit covering 64 countries with credit commitments of over $32 billion. The total outstanding under the LOCs as on March 31, 2021, aggregates to around $6 billion, representing a CAGR of 15.5% over the last 10 years, and costed 40% of the total loan portfolio of the bank. During last year, Exim Bank has issued 17 LOCs, aggregating about $2 billion to various countries, to name a few: Angola, Guinea, Kenya, Swaziland, Maldives, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, Suriname, Uzbekistan, Vietnam. Next slide, Fanai. To give a few examples of projects supported with lines of credit, these are a file photo where you can see Honorable Prime Minister of India and Bangladesh laying a virtual foundation stone of 5 nuclear power evacuation contracts by India and Bangladesh for Nupur nuclear power plant under Exim's LOCs worth $4.5 billion. In the center, you will see Exim Bank supporting $100 million to Government of Nepal for road projects. On the right, you will see Exim Bank supporting under Government of India lines of credit $860 million for transportation to Government of Bangladesh. Next slide, Fanai. Exim Bank also have a program called Consistent Financing Scheme, where the CFS was initiated in 2015 by Government of India for Indian companies to bid for strategically important infrastructure projects. Under this, Exim Bank has financed a huge project of 1320 megawatt ultra supercritical Maitri super thermal power project. And to support Indian manufacturers under the PLI scheme in strategic industries. Under expansion of CFS, the bank, Exim Bank, will provide financing both in US dollar and INR for setting up manufacturing facilities in strategic industries by an identified company on concessional terms. Next slide for 9. Again, a file photo where Exim Bank financing the project Maitri Super Thermal Power Project in Rampal, Bangladesh. It was one of the largest project which Exim Bank is financing at US dollar 1.6 billion. Next slide, for 9. Yeah, Exim Bank also has is managing as implementing agency for a project development fund for CLMB. The primary objective of PDF is to facilitate Indian investments and broaden the manufacturing base of Indian companies in CLMB region. So far, 4 projects have been identified. One is a multi-specialty hospital or medical college in Cambodia, multi-specialty hospital or medical college in Myanmar, education institute in Myanmar, and a pharmaceutical manufacturing unit in Vietnam. Currently, 2 projects, one in Cambodia and one in Vietnam, are being pursued. The arrangements for establishing a special purpose vehicle are being made. The plan is SP would take the projects to a bankable state, which will further be offloaded to an interested Indian company. Next slide for 9. Under BCNAA, we have sanctioned US $2.88 billion and we are outstanding of about 1.48 billion. The left-hand side shows the pie chart of various geographical distribution of the sanction, and right-hand side shows geographical distribution of the outstanding. The outstanding BCNAA portfolio, as I mentioned, stands at a US $1.4 billion as on March 31, 2021. We'll see some few examples in the next slides for 9. On the left-hand side, you will see the bank financing under the line of US 124 million to the Ministry of Finance and Planning, Government of Sri Lanka for the Navy vessels. In the center, you will see Exim Bank financing a road project in Maldives. On the right-hand side, you will see Exim Bank financing a water project under US 91.8 million to a company in India by Vietech Babak. Next slide for 9. Under project exports, which is commercial, during last year, around 38 project export contracts valued at approximately 27,000 crores, which is approximately US 3.6 billion, were supported by the bank in 29 countries across various regions, Asia, Africa, and CIS, by more than 25 companies. On the left-hand side, you see the sectoral distribution. On the right-hand side, you will see the geographic distribution. We'll see some few examples for the bank financing under project exports under commercial. Next slide for 9. On you will see bank supporting Case International Limited for setting up a 400 kV overline and substations for Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. In the center, you will see Exim Bank supporting an Indian company, Sterling and Wilson, for a solar project in Egypt. On the right-hand side, Exim Bank supporting KSC for a supply and transmission line on the Thao-Laos border. Next slide for 9. Under overseas investment finance, Exim Bank has sanctioned about 732 crores last year, and we have outstanding of more than about around 60,000 crores. During the year ended March 2021, total disbursements aggregate to about 327 crores, including those made under approvals granted in the previous year. Next slide for 9. Some of the examples on the left-hand side, you will see Exim Bank financing investment by an Indian company called IM Gears in Morocco. On the right-hand side, you will see Exim Bank financing a company from Chennai, putting up a project in US. Next slide for 9. On the left-hand side, you'll see Exim Bank financing a company from Bangalore to invest in a company in Netherlands. On the right-hand side, you will see Exim Bank financing a hospital in Cayman Islands by an Indian company. Next slide for 9. Now let us see some of the new initiatives under the Finance Bill FY 2020. The Honorable Finance Minister had launched Ubhrte Sitare with the objective to identify nurture firms with differentiated products, technology, or process. In this, we provide finance and extensive handholding support. We facilitate export, economic growth, and employment. By this, we create international champions from India. We have collaborating and engaging with various academic and industry partners. We offer a value proposition through collaboration between Exim Bank, SIDBI, through commercial banks and financial institutions. Next slide for 9. These are some of the examples where we supported the Ubhrte Sitare program. It's a very new program in spite of COVID during the last year. We supported a few companies. On the left-hand side, you'll see we supported a company which is in virgin quality plastic. To the right, you will see Exim Bank financing unmanned aerial vehicles for its contract overseas. To the next right, you will see Exim Bank financing a company which manufactures key ingredients for COVID vaccines. On the extreme right, you will see Exim Bank financing a company which is in harnessing solar energy to store agricultural products. Next slide for 9. A few more examples. On the left-hand side, you will see Exim Bank financing a consumer durables company, which the difference is being instead of AC motors, we use DC motors. In the center, you will see Exim Bank financing company is engaged into manufacturing of alpha ring centrifugal castings and sand castings. On the right, you will see Exim Bank financing a company which is involved in patented technology, which has exclusive license on a global basis of the said technology to manufacture innovative copper titanium alloy. Next slide for 9. Some of the few more initiatives, Exim Bank is launching a program which is akin to ADB's program, trade assistance program. By this, we will help Indian banks who are not comfortable otherwise of LCs issued by some identified countries and select countries to confirm based on Exim Bank's guarantee. With this, we'll be able to support additional exports from India. Next slide for 9. This is a schematic diagram where Exim Bank will add guarantee. Exim Bank can give confirmation directly as well as add guarantee to the LCs issued by identified banks from select countries. Next slide. Exim Bank is also in the process of setting up a subsidiary to offer factoring services as a trade finance on a non-recourse basis to Indian exporters. This is for open account transactions. The TAP is for LC transactions. We plan to launch this company in the next few weeks and start the business in the next few months. We are also looking at collaborating in the ITFS platform in GIFT City. The factoring subsidiary is also in line with the bank's medium-term business strategy and also aligned with the GOI's renewed focus, Government of India's renewed focus on enhancing India's exports while being self-reliant and producing goods for the world. Next slide for 9. This is, I think, a flow chart how export factoring works. I'll be more than happy to take any questions. Next slide. Exim Bank is also working to find out whether we can work on counter trade. In fact, the counter trade is not something new to this member countries or the participants. We have this to put it very simply, it's like a barter trade. India itself has done something equal to barter trade with many countries. To name a few, we have done back in Russia and as well as Sri Lanka. And given this geopolitical situation in Ukraine and Russia, it may offer opportunities to do counter trade. It's I think more at I would say drawing board stage. We are working on it. We'll be happy to work with partners like ADB to arrive at some solution to the Indian exporters. Next slide for 9. Yeah, now come to where Exim Bank can work in terms with ADB. ADB can facilitate increasing participation by Indian project exporters in ADB funded projects through such seminars, what we are doing now. Exim Bank can co-finance with ADB for the Indian project exports. Wherever there's an Indian component, Exim Bank can part finance with ADB. Exim Bank can risk participate in ADB portfolio where there's an India connection. Exim Bank on ongoing basis can share experience, especially what it has achieved over a period of years from LOC, CFS and BCNAA, especially in the procurement process. Potential business collaboration select sectors like healthcare, renewables, etc. In fact, I think the previous speaker was talking about how ADB has been working for the COVID. There are a lot of areas. In fact, we had meetings with the ADB leadership to find how Exim Bank can work with ADB. We'll be more than happy to partner with ADB to support Indian companies in fighting off COVID through multiple ways. As far as Indian project exporters, Exim Bank can offer project-specific fund-based export project cash flow deficit finance if it is an ADB funded project and they have a cash flow mismatch from the time they incur and they get funding from ADB in terms of getting the bill certificate, etc. Exim Bank can chip in and match the cash flow mismatch. Exim Bank can also offer project-specific non-fund based, be it bid bond, be it advance payment guarantee, performance guarantee, or implementation guarantee for projects won under ADB projects. Across projects, not specific to any project, Exim Bank can offer term loan, which is a capital equipment finance program. The Indian project exporter may want to import or acquire a large machinery like a crane, which could use multiple projects. Exim Bank can finance such capital expenditure. Exim Bank can offer term loans, which is general in nature for creating infrastructure by the IPEs, both in India and overseas. The last one, Exim Bank under Subrata Sitara program, which I mentioned, will be happy to offer debt, equity, and technical assistance, not just for IPs, but IPs vendors. Next slide for 9. Yeah, Exim Banks has presence in 100+ countries across geographies. And the Exim Bank will be more than happy to continue supporting Indian project exporters, either directly along with along with ADB for Indian companies for project exports. I'll pause here for want of time. Maybe after my colleague from Ecgc makes a presentation, all of them will be happy to take the presentations. Questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar, for the detailed presentations on Exim Bank's support to Indian exporters for the project finance. We now move to a presentation from the Ecgc. Let me now introduce our speaker from Ecgc, Mr. Subir Das. He's a general manager in Ecgc, and he has joined the Ecgc in 1995 and served the organization in various capacities in his different offices, including regional manager, Eastern region during 2016 to 2019. Since 2019, he is holding the position of the GM in the corporate office and has been looking after the key areas of operations such as policy planning, project exports and NEIA, buyer and policy underwriting, policy claim and recoveries, etc. Mr. Das is currently the Chief Underwriting Officer, Policy Short Term of Ecgc. So let me now welcome Mr. Das to make his presentation on Ecgc's insurance scheme for supporting Indian project exporters. I'll just share the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Fanai. Good afternoon to all and a hearty greetings from Ecgc Limited. I'll take you through a brief presentation on Ecgc schemes and roles. Next slide, please. This is about Ecgc. It was set up in 1956. It is 100% owned by Government of India, and we are controlled by administrative control under the administrative control of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. We are under the regulation of insurance regulator, that is IRDAI. As far as our claim payability is concerned, we have been rated highest, that is IAAA rating we are having. We are also the managing agency of National Exports Insurance Account set up by Government of India. We'll briefly talk about that later on. Next slide. Our vision is to excel in providing export credit insurance and trade-related services, and mission is to support Indian exporting community by providing cost-effective insurance and trade-related services. Next slide, please. Role we play is very critical in terms of national importance with regard to the exports from India. We are the export credit agency. I think there is a problem. Thank you. Come back, please. Yeah. We are essentially an export credit agency providing the risk protection, credit insurance risk protection and credit enhancement in the process that we support banks and exporters in India. The support to banks and financial institutions is made to ensure that adequate flow of export credit finance is given to the Indian exporters. Also, we are into factoring of export bills. We are also into promotion of project exports. We'll be deliberating upon that. And our products are also gives insurance covers to the overseas investment made by the Indian exporters. Ecgc is the first Asian ECA member of Bond Union, which is an union of credit insurers and investment insurers, ensures the orderly improvement and development of the credit insurance market and capacity building. Next slide, please. This is basically the snapshot of the business profile of Ecgc schemes. Our customers are exporters of India and banks of India. We operate both in the short-term exports and medium and long-term exports, which is called also project exports. The covers in the short-term and medium-term exports for the exporters are called policy, and covers for the banks in short-term and medium and long-term exports are in the form of packing credit cover, which is pre-shipment cover, the advances given by the banks at the pre-shipment level, advances given by the bank at the post-shipment level, and also we support the non-funded facilities given by the Indian banks to the Indian exporters. Next slide, please. Basically, the risks covered by any credit insurers are like this only. Under the policy scheme which are issued to the exporters, there are two segments. One is commercial risk, another political risk. Under the commercial risk, we give commercial risk insurance covers to the overseas or on account of the risk on account of the overseas buyers and banks, insolvency of the overseas buyers and the banks, default by the overseas buyers and the banks, repudiation means cancellation or contract frustration due to certain developments, insolvency of the LC opening banks. Whereas in the political risk, war and civil war situation, import restrictions, trade delays and diversion of voyage, and in case of overseas investment insurance, that is war risk or expropriation risk. These are the political risks. How we monitor the risk? We monitor the credit, we assess the credit worthiness assessment of the overseas buyers and the overseas banks where the commercial risks are given based on certain parameters. Mainly the parameters like nature of the business, which we call business ability of the company on which the risk is underwritten. And then we look into the financial aspects also, financial strength of the company in terms of its net worth and liquidity and leverage ratios mainly. Then transactional aspects are also taken into account. That is the track record, payment ability of the buyer, etc. And then we look into the industry aspects also in respect of the buyer's country where the exports are made. So what is the relevance of the industry in the buyer's country? What are the goods are being sent in that particular industry, where nature of the goods, whether perishable, the kind of shelf life it is having, product obsolescence, all these things are taken into account. As far as political risk is covered, it is on the sovereign. So we do have a model for that, where basically we take into account economic aspect, political aspect, India's relationship with regard to that particular destination country. Then experience of other ECAs are also very important factor, and the forecasts that those are available in the market, and we do have our own model for that. So these are the ways we are monitoring the risk as commercial as well as the political risk. Under the ECIV scheme, that is the export credit insurance for the banks, we are basically covering the risk of insolvency of the Indian exporter and the default of the Indian exporter against the loans, working capital loans given by the Indian banks to the Indian exporters. Next slide, please. In the medium and long-term exports, that is the project exports, we do have this product basket. We have different types of product to meet the various needs of the Indian exporters. And we have indicated the percentage cover in the bracket along with the pricing range, that is the premium for the insurance cover. Percentage cover varies from 75 to 90% across various products, and insurance cover premium rate ranges from 0.7 to it can go up to as much as 20% for the private buyer credit cover. So various products are there depending upon the need of the exporter. We are trying to meet them. Yeah, there is, those are Ecgc's internal products. Apart from that, government had set up a national export insurance account specifically to support the projects exports from India, because it is having very important role in Indian economy in terms of strategic reasons as well as economic reason. So this trust was set up by Government of India in 2006, and Ecgc is the managing agency for that. Now, trust provides export credit insurance support to the Indian project exporters. This is governed by a very high-powered committee, that is Committee of Direction, represented by the various ministries as well as Ecgc and India Exim Bank. Currently, the underwriting capacity is in the tune of 10 billion USD, and exposure underwritten so far is around 5 billion. Major sectors covered by the scheme, that is the trust, is power and power means transmission and distribution, housing, water treatment and sanitation, defense equipment, renewable energy, oil and gas, transport, and agriculture. Next, please. Some of the highlights of this buyer credit under NEIA scheme. These buyers credits are given mainly by India Exim Bank. So far given in 27 projects. So this facility is to facilitate recourse-free funding by the bank for the growth of project exports from India, to help banks extend loan on a liberal term, competitive manner to the overseas sovereign governments and government-owned entities. This is can be PSUs and government-supported entities backed by the sovereign guarantee, to import goods and services from India on deferred credit terms, to provide insurance to banks for its loan to overseas borrower, to support infrastructure need of the developing and underprivileged country, and serves as a catalyst for promoting project exports from India by supporting 27 projects in 14 countries, mainly in Africa, South Asia, and South America. The features of the covers are as under. We can say it gives, though the cover is given in the Indian rupees, it takes care of 150% of the cover value. So in order to take care of the principal, interest, and exchange fluctuation loss. Tenure typically can be from 5 years to 20 years, and exposure is underwritten in Indian rupee. Next, please. This is the graphical representation of the various geographies of project exports that those are being supported by NEIA scheme. Africa, Asia, Europe, and South America. Ecgc maintains, as I have told already, we monitor the political risk through the underwriting the sovereign risk. So we have classified the countries in the 7-tier classification: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and D, in order of ascending order of the perceived risk. So the exposure currently is shown in this graph. So A2 country is predominant, A2, B1, B2, and C2. These are the C1 are the predominant countries where the exposures have been underwritten. Next, please. The ADB funded projects are also being covered by Ecgc schemes. It is specifically covered by Ecgc schemes under the policy schemes. So far the highlights are like this. Aggregate project value covered under this is equivalent to 450 million. Exposure under cover is 334 million. Number of exporters under the cover is 3 at present. Of course, we do look forward to the opportunities showcased here. So not many exporters will be interested in participating in these projects with the support of Ecgc cover. Countries under cover is Afghanistan, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. Afghanistan situation currently is difficult, and we have seen some of the incidents of certain claims because of the prevailing situation in Afghanistan. Sectors covers are power and power transmission, distribution, water treatment, and supply. Next, please. Now coming to the opportunities, come back, please. Coming to the opportunities, this wire credit under this scheme is helping Indian project exports immensely to get to gain the competitive advantage over the counterparts, because as you know, ECS all over the world is supported by the respective governments effectively, whereas Ecgc is promoted by the government, but exactly we are not underwriting the risk on account of the government's book. So in that way, NEIA is an additional cushion to the Ecgc endeavor in providing credit insurance risk. So that is helping the Indian exporters to expand the horizon of the project exports and enable Ecgc and NEIA to underwrite the risk in the little bit more difficult countries and the projects where the potential of infrastructure projects are very high. So an in-house study with the help of certain expert agencies has shown that there is a potential of in the emerging markets, like you say Africa and South Asia, East Asia, is in the coming 5 years, it is in the tune of 700 billion project exports can help. So accordingly, NEIA has an outlook that it can expand its exposure from current level of 5 billion to the extent of 8 billion in the coming 4 to 5 years. So that is opportunity. And I think the potential is even higher. So government of India is committed to support Indian project exporters. So that may be enhanced typically. So this is the position. Next, please. Thank you very much. I will be welcoming the questions. Thank you, Mr. Fanai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Das, for the presentation on Ecgc support to India project exporters. We will now come to the Q&A session. I think there are a few questions that comes. Okay, there are questions like, does Adb allow purchasing from India if buyer is government company? And also another question from the same person, from Mr. Ram Gopal Srinivasan. Public procurement policy guidelines seeking India to be a signatory to some protocol. Is it a requirement? I think that is what the question is trying to address. Is there any requirement for India to be a signatory to some protocol for public procurement policy? So I can ask the Adb team to maybe to address that. Okay, there is also another question, possibility of using QCB as method for procurement of work contract. I think anyone from Adb may like to address these questions.
Yes, Fanai, I think it's a procurement related question.
Is there any public procurement policy guidelines seeking India to be a signatory to some protocol? India or maybe maybe any developing countries within the Adb, possibly here. Because the question is addressing to Adb. The first question is, does Adb allow purchasing from India if buyer is government company? Okay. Number two is there a public procurement policy guideline seeking India to be a signatory to some protocol?
Okay, so on this, so without entering into detail, I invite the person who asked the question so to look at on Adb website. So we have our Adb procurement related policy, and it's really explaining in detail what are the regulation and policy related to Adb procurements. So it has been revised in 2017 to introduce flexibility and most importantly fit for purpose to address the different opportunities. So yeah, they can really look at these documents that you can find on the Adb website, and I will share the link in the chat box.
I think many of your questions from the participant have been answered in the chat box. Please take a look at the chat box as well. There is another query which I can highlight. Has it been answered? Okay. Contractors executing firm price EPC contracts of Adb are facing severe stress due to unprecedented increase in metal price, especially aluminium. What options do contractors have? How Adb can support the contractors in the case of in the case of increase in the price of commodities?
Thank you for the question. So related to this, we have in our bidding documents so specific mention regarding price escalation and price adjustment. When there is a variation in the cost of raw material, for example, or in the cost of energy, so it's included in the indexation formula, and so the contractor is protected against the risk of cost escalation in the bid. Yeah, I hope it answers the question, but voilà, it's really specified in the bidding document. As you know, when there is an opportunity, so of course we have, as I said, we have policy and regulation, but it's also the bidding document that is really the key and the contractual documents before the contract is signed, and after, of course, all these elements are also considered in the contract that is being signed by the contractor. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. And there is another question which asks from Mr. Big Bhattacharya Ji, what is the usual procurement cycle timeline in consulting opportunities? Number one. And there is another question that asks, is there any minimum Indian content or from any other countries requirement in relation to goods or services for projects funded by ADB?
Thank you for the question. So we have really a very strong KPI to ensure a very efficient procurement timelines. Regarding contractor ADB funded consulting opportunities, so usually the publication is done for I think there is, well, depending on the assignment, a minimum of 10 days of publication. And after, so the recruitment process is timely implemented. And depending, it's difficult to give an exact range, but let's say that in few weeks it is done, depending on the complexity of the assignment and on the amount also, because of course sometimes there might be the need to have a higher level of approval. But voilà, it's very timely and implemented, and we are monitoring that the recruitment are done in a timely manner.
There are
any other questions?
But yeah. Okay. This is one question from Bhutan. Two questions. Is it true that a firm needs to have 10 similar projects to be considered for shortlisting? Is it true that individual consultants should have worked in at least 3 countries to be considered as international consultant? Particular questions in terms of number of projects that have been executed earlier, and also in terms of experience in countries. So these 2 questions they are asking.
So regarding the specific experience in country, is it important in the selection? This is a question, Fanai?
Yeah, is it true that does a firm needs to be to have 10 similar projects to be considered for shortlisting? And for an individual consultant, should they have worked in at least 3 countries to be considered as international consultant? Yeah.
Alors, regarding country's experience, it's really specific to the TOR, so there is no such limit of 10 countries, for example. It's really specific on the assignment. Of course, we are really looking at specific country experience, and it's something very important. So in the expression of interest, to explain what is the specific experience of the consultant related to the country, because again, we are really doing a fit for purpose assignment. So it's very important to explain what is the specific knowledge of the country of the consultant, and what is also the specific method or innovative approach that he will undertake in the assignment. So more especially if it's a firm, of course. Regarding the number of countries to be considered as an international consultant. I will check that, but yeah, you need at least, of course, to have a few experience in international, in different, of course, in different countries, to be able also to, because sometimes you need to bring to some assignment some benchmark and to have gained some experience in different contexts. So it's really something that we value also in ADB, is to be able to have this sharing of knowledge between countries or between regions. So it's also important in the selection of consultants to have this international experience in different countries. Thank you.
There is one question on whether for individual consultant who are just starting off or about to start off, your suggestion to help them get service contract in the field of financing from the Adb.
To start to get some assignments, so I will say, if I understand correctly the question, I will say first, you have to be patient. So it's not because you have submitted once to an assignment and that you have not been selected that you should not try again. Sometimes you have to try a few times. What we really, what is very important is to have, when you apply to an assignment, to have really the specific experience to this assignment, not to apply to any assignment, because of course there is a strong competition on all the assignments, and it's very important for you to really spend your time on assignments where you think you are really the specific experience. First of all. So it means that you need also to make sure that you know well the context of the project. You can gain information on our website. There is also possibility to ask questions related to the assignment, so in a fair way. So it means that the answer will be shared with all the bidders. But it's also possible to ask information and details. But voilà, again, we really value your thorough and specific understanding of the assignment and of the context, because at the end of the day, what we want to bring to our DMC and to our client, it's people who can really solve the specific issue, understand first and solve the specific issues as they have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I think we are running ahead of schedule, running out of time now. Maybe when I look at the chat box, I've seen like Michael and other panelists have responded and given them the right links, and some of are being addressed during the discussion in the presentation from the panelists. So those things doesn't require to be addressed anymore, I think. And if there are any queries from the participants, you have the email IDs, you have our email IDs, do write to us. And if you go to the Adb website, as it was rightly mentioned earlier, there is a link, and all the link and that they have shown during the presentation is going to be addressed by the team only, and they will be right there for you to address your queries as well. So do write to them with your queries, and you will get a response from the Adb team. So without much further ado, I think we will come to the concluding session as of now. I will ask our Deputy Managing Director for the concluding remarks. Before that, just a quick announcement. We are going to send you a feedback form. Kindly fill those forms. There will be roughly some 10 questions for you to give a feedback, so you can quickly fill it up and send it to us so that we can get back to you even if it is required. Now I will request our DMD, Mr. N. Ramesh, for the closing remarks. Just a quick introduction of him. Mr. Ramesh is an officer of ITS, Indian Telecom Service, since from 1999 batch. Prior to his appointment to India Exim Bank, he served as an executive director in National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation Limited, and he served as director in Department of Commerce, Government of India from 2016 to 2019, where he oversaw agriculture, export inspection, Biotechnology and Plantation Division. Mr. Ramesh also worked as Director Marketing at Marine Product Export Development Authority, Ministry of Commerce and Industry from 2010 to 2016. Now I will invite Mr. Ramesh sir to give the closing remarks.
Thank you, Fanai. I'll not take much time. We're in the last leg of the program. And I sincerely thank ADB for this particular seminar, and without which we could have not conducted this. India Exim Bank is regularly organizing business opportunity seminars with ADB earlier also, and the current one is in addition to that, to encourage more Indian companies to actively participate in multilateral funded project overseas. The joint efforts by India Exim Bank and ADB in creating more awareness about opportunities in ADB funded projects through these seminars will positively contribute to Indian participation in overseas projects. I think overall the seminar has provided a platform for Indian firms to gain a deeper understanding on procurement methods, procedures, guidelines, and receive strategic inputs on participation in externally funded projects in overseas markets. I hope this session has helped in informing the Indian companies of the vast opportunities that exist in ADB funded projects, and has provided a structured approach in enhancing their success at securing such projects. This is not the the last seminar we are going to conduct on this note. We are collaborating with many other multilateral development banks in arranging similar kind of seminars. I would request the participants also to actively take part in them. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank my Managing Director, Ms. Harsha Bangari, Mr. Samir Kumar Khare, Executive Director, Asian Development Bank, Mr. Rostum Abdukayomo, Director in ADB, Mr. Dan Millison, Consultant in ADB, Mr. Michael Aniala, Senior Road Asset Management Specialist in ADB, Ms. C. Janina Rohr, Principal Procurement Specialist in ADB, and Mr. Subir Das, General Manager, Ecgc Limited. And more importantly, the participants who have been very active in the discussions and Q&A sessions, without whom this program would have not been possible. I sincerely thank each one of you in making this program a grand success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MD.
Thank you, sir. With that, we now close the session. I sent a survey link. Please leave your email ID and your contact details there, and run the survey, and fill it up and submit so that we can get back to you. And your feedback will be with the ADB team, as also with the India Exim Bank team.
Yeah, and please, Fanai, we'll answer to all the questions, to all the pending questions. So please send us all the pending questions not answered, and we'll come back to you by writing to make sure that all the points raised by participants are addressed. It's very important for us.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
The same thing, Exim Bank also respond to the questions if any raised, and which for want of time we are not able to answer.
Absolutely. We will get back to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a very good day.
Good day.
Thanks.